Welcome to your new moon forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be getting into the energy and the chart for the new moon that we are having in Capricorn, January 11th, 2024, our first new moon of the year. Now, for the first portion of this video, I will be getting into the general energy of the new moon, and then for the second portion of this video, I will be getting into all 12 rising signs. That way, you're able to see how this energy is showing up for you personally. Now, if you want to know when the new moon is going to be exact for your location on the planet, you put that new moon at 20 degrees and 44 minutes. So let's get right into it. So I just want to start by saying that this is going to be our last new moon in Capricorn with Pluto. So this is quite significant. Pluto has been in Capricorn for the last 15 years, and Capricorn ruling government, authority, corporations. We can really see the change and transformation collectively in our governments and corporations. So, Pluto really does transform these areas of our life. And, maybe basing your intentions with this new moon. And of course, you'll get a better feel for, how this is showing up for you when we get into all 12 rising signs. But base your intentions on this amazing transformation that has taken place in your own life. Now, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and we have a lot going on in this chart. In fact, there's a lot of really amazing positive energy, supportive energy. However, throughout the week, and if you listen to my weekly forecast, I talked about the energy this week with the sun squaring the nodes and then the new moon squaring the nodes. And so there really is this intense need to make a decision or a choice with a life direction. And it becomes very intense with this new moon, because you can see this new moon is at 20 degrees. We have the south node in Libra at 20 degrees, and then we have the north node in Aries at 20 degrees. And I've talked a lot about the nodes being in Aries and Libra. Libra being a general significator of relationships and close personal connections, and Aries being a significator of the self, individuality, independence, right? So there may be something showing up with this new moon and playing out over the next 6 months where you're having to make a choice, maybe within a close personal relationship or a business partnership, or even in these areas of life, depending on where you have Aries and Libra, which will play out, I feel like, over the next 6 months, because usually the intentions we set at the time of the new moon in that sign tend to come to fruition at the time of the full moon in that same sign. So this could play out, over the next month or over the next 6 months. I always look at the charts for the new moons as imprints, almost showing how manifestations can come to fruition. So, for example, this new moon is trining Uranus. This can show, now, this is Uranus retrograde. So, this could be, some really spontaneous internal insight that just appears that helps you in choosing this new direction. So definitely pay attention to your intuitive downloads, those aha moments, because those aha moments are our intuition, our higher self, our intuitive downloads. Now, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And we have Saturn sitting here at 4 degrees of Pisces. We have Mars in Capricorn, forming a sextile to Saturn, a trine to Jupiter, and then Jupiter forming a sextile to Saturn. So there is an interesting conversation taking place with Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter. This is amazing determination energy. Capricorn really can represent hard work and dedication, determination, especially with Mars. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. This is a very powerful Mars, and then trining Jupiter, which is amplifying all of that energy. this is really great for, starting to build, starting to create something amazing, sustainable, something with those foundations as has Saturn energy, something that can be very long lasting, whether it's maybe a business or a home or a relationship. This is going to look different for all of us. We're all on our own unique individual path at the moment. But whatever your path is that you're on right now, this is an amazing energy. And there's a lot of support here to start building, to start creating, especially something that can, last not just 2024, but beyond. We are going to have some difficult energy in 2024. So we really want to be taking advantage of this supportive energy here with this Saturn, Mars, Jupiter to start putting things into motion. Now, another energy here I really want to talk about and touch on is this Venus trine to Chiron. Now, while we're making these decisions, while we're creating and building, I want you to reflect back over the past year because Venus formed a conjunction to this Chiron and Aries March of 2023. And then we had a Venus square to Chiron May of 2023, which is where something may have popped up. Now, for those of you who are not aware, Chiron rules our wounds, our vulnerabilities, sometimes can, represent, indicate our part of our healing journey. So last March of 2023, something may have shown up for you some around healing, your internal, your self-love, your self-confidence, your self-worth, because that's what Venus truly represents for all of us is our self-love, not just that, but our self-love, self-worth. Now when Venus had that retrograde period in Leo, the end of June, July, August, and beginning of September, Venus formed a trine to Chiron 3 times. And this would have really been a reprogramming of your self-worth, your self-love, your values, what you truly need, want, and desire on an internal soul level. And you would have been healing something, or something may have been coming to the surface. And especially with the conjunction in March, the square in May, which is something may have popped up where maybe it's like, oh, I thought I already healed this, or, something maybe showing up that you had to heal next. So maybe not necessarily something you thought you already healed, but oh, here's something else I have to heal. Here's another part of myself. We're constantly on a healing journey. It's a never ending. There's always a part of, we're always healing. So this would have been something coming to the surface. And then through that retrograde period, that would have been your healing, your reprogramming through because Venus would have formed that trine when she was in the forward in the, I guess, the post shadow, and then retrograde, and then the pre shadow, the retrograde, and then the post shadow. So there would have been 3 trines. So now we have Venus in Sagittarius forming a trine to Chiron. And this is where there can be something really coming to your awareness where now you have this complete understanding of the healing journey that just took place over the last year. Something can really be showing up for you where now it's almost like two with the new moon in Capricorn, because Capricorn can really represent, hard work or starting a business or going after what we truly want as far as, business opportunities and career. And this may be, where something's coming to your awareness where maybe before you didn't have that self-confidence to put yourself out there, or you were struggling with self-worth in some way where maybe you didn't think you were good enough to, start a business or to apply to that higher up position, right? And this can be something coming to your awareness where now you're like, I'm ready. I've done the work. I know I've healed. You're no longer struggling in this area of life. And now you're ready to go ahead and push forward. And I really wanted to mention that because it's really what I feel from this energy. So I hope that this helps you navigate the energies for this new moon in Capricorn. Make sure you're taking advantage of all of this beautiful supportive energy. The only real intense energy with this chart is the T square to the nodes. And this is where, like I mentioned before, there may be a decision or a choice showing up for you, and this is where it becomes intense, or something is showing up where now it's almost coming to your awareness that there's going to be a decision to make. So I hope that this helps you navigate the energy for, not just the next month, but the next 6 months with this new moon and Capricorn energy. And now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 10th house of career and public reputation. Now, I want you to reflect and think back the last 15 years. What has changed in this area of life, having Pluto transit through your 10th house over the last 15 years? What type of transformation has taken place? Pluto may have brought fears up around, career choices, career decisions, moving forward within a career, ventures that have to do with a career, or even your public image, fears around how you look out in the world or what your image looks like. I want you to base your intentions on these new amazing transformations that have taken place in this area of your life. Now, we also have Mars in the 10th house, which Mars is your chart ruler. So this is really significant. Mars being in Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very, very well in Capricorn. Mars representing our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. We have a lot of supportive energy right now to start building, to start creating, to start moving forward and building something really foundational, sustainable for 2024 and beyond. Now, what is interesting about this chart and this energy is that we have Saturn here in your 12th house, Jupiter in your 2nd house, and Mars, your chart ruler, in your 10th house, forming an interesting conversation. Saturn is sitting here at 4 degrees of Pisces, forming a sextile to Jupiter and Mars, and then Mars and Jupiter forming a trine. Now, your 2nd house rules your money, your finances, material possessions, and your 12th house rules isolation, self-undoing, self-sabotaging, karmic energy, karmic patterns. And so Saturn moving through your 12th house is already really bringing up a lot of those, self-undoing behaviors and patterns to the surface so that you can heal and end karmic cycles. So I really love this energy for you. Whatever has, and this can really show up as maybe you would get in your own way when it has to do with your public image, or when it has to do with making money, when it has to do with your career, and you would, self-sabotage in some way. And there's a lot of healing taking place and supportive energy here to kind of move forward and move beyond that and end those karmic cycles and start to actually build and create and move forward with something that is in alignment with you. And where now, even with, this Venus trying to Chiron, where whatever you healed, that's no longer going to get in your way. You're no longer going to self-sabotage when it has to do with your career, your public image, or being worried about how you look out in the world. Now, where this energy can become a little intense is that this new moon, which is at 20 degrees, I just want to note. So the moon here says 23 degrees, but it's actually, the new moon will be at 20 degrees, forming an exact T-square to the nodes. And you have the north node in your 1st house and the south node in your 7th, which is really significant because you are excuse me, you are going through major changes and transformation when it has to do with who you are, what you want, what is in alignment with you, your destiny, your purpose, and your close personal relationships. And so there's something that can be highlighted at this time where there's a choice that needs to be made. This is tension here, with this new moon, with relationships, one-on-one connections, maybe even business partnerships, and then your direction and what you want. So there may be a choice or a path that needs to be made, or a final understanding that you're developing on maybe who is holding you back or who you need to release and let go of in order to move forward. Taurus, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 9th house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, belief systems. And so this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. But I want you to think back the last 15 years, Pluto transiting your 9th house. What has this changed for you? How has Pluto changed and transformed this area of your life, maybe around belief systems? I want you to base your intentions on these new changes and transformation that has taken place. Excuse me. And then your chart ruler Venus is sitting here in your 8th house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, psychological healing and transformation. And Venus is forming a trine to Chiron. So I really love this for you because I feel like there's going to be a final understanding of how much you've healed and setting intentions based on that, based on the transformation and the healing that has taken place, especially the last year with this whole Venus Chiron story. If you listen to the first portion of this video, I talked about this. And Venus being your chart ruler, you were going through a lot of healing and changes over the last year. Now, we have this interesting conversation with Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, and you have Jupiter in your 1st house until May of 2024. And so this is really beautiful, and I love this energy. We have Saturn sitting here at 4 degrees of Pisces, Mars exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very well in Capricorn, and Mars ruling our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. There is a lot of amazing supportive energy here to build, to create, to move forward with something and really build something sustainable and foundational to last 2024 and beyond. And so I want you to keep that in mind. There is some intense energy here, but there is a lot of beautiful supportive energy with this Jupiter. And this is almost to, Jupiter transiting the 1st house, changing you, changing who you are, bringing in wisdom, and an understanding of, what is in alignment with you in the direction that you want to move in. And then having that, trine from Mars, there's a lot of motivation at this time, and we really want to be taking advantage of this energy. Now, where this energy can become a little challenging is that this new moon is forming a T-square to the nodes, and you have the North Node in the 12th house and the South Node in your 6th house. Now, the 12th house represents self-undoing, self-sabotaging, isolation, and the 6th house represents your work, health, and daily routine, your day-to-day routines, work routines, the routines that you do, your nutrition habits, things like that, pets. And so with the South Node, this usually indicates a releasing and letting go of something in that area. You're definitely changing your routines in some way. And then with the North Node in the 12th house, this can really have to do with you becoming aware of self-undoing and self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns and all of that, and ending karmic cycles. And so there can be something highlighted with this new moon because of this T-square. This is tension. So there can be something highlighted at this time where you're having to make a choice. You're having to choose a path, in these areas of life. If you're wanting to make these changes in your day-to-day routine, you may have to stop those self-undoing behaviors or patterns, or maybe it is that you have to just isolate a little bit more in order to regroup and get your energy back to balance. Gemini, you have this new moon taking place in your 8th house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing and transformation. The 8th house also represents death, rebirth. Now, this is a really good time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. However, I want you to really reflect and think back to the last 15 years. How has Pluto transformed this area of your life? Maybe Pluto has completely transformed your beliefs around death. That could definitely be a thing with Pluto transiting in the 8th house. How has Pluto transformed, maybe things around your partner's finances or other people's resources or, something along those lines, or psychological healing and transformation? Base your intentions on, those changes and transformation that's taken place. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn in the eighth house at this time, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very well in Capricorn. Mars ruling our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action, and forming this interesting conversation to Saturn and Jupiter. We have a trine between Mars and Jupiter, and then they're both forming a sextile to Saturn. And you currently have Saturn transiting your 10th house of career and public reputation. So Saturn is really creating a lot of changes in this area of your life. However, this is amazing energy to really form something sustainable and foundational that can last a very long time because of the Saturn influence. And this can have to do with your career. This can have to do with, money coming in from outside resources, creating maybe some type of spiritual business. I mean, it could definitely be that way with Jupiter in the 12th. But either way, this is just really supportive energy that we all want to be taking advantage of to create, to build. Now, where this energy becomes a little bit challenging is at this new moon, which is at 20 degrees. I just want to note, don't look at these degree points. The new moon is at 20 degrees of Capricorn, forming an exact T square to the nodes. And you have the North node transiting your 11th house and the South node transiting your 5th house. Now, the 11th house represents friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, networking, your hopes, your dreams. And the South node represents your creativity, children, passion, pleasure, play, romance, hobbies, interests. This is the house of fun. So you are going through a lot of changes this year in these areas of life. And there can be, something really highlighted at the time of this new moon where there is a decision that needs to be made here. There's a choice. This T square is tension. So just be aware of that. Whatever is showing up for you, there can be, a decision that needs to be made, a choice, or something that you need to release and let go of in order to take this new path that you're moving into. Cancer, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, one-on-one connections. Now, I want you to think back and reflect the last 15 years having Pluto transit your 7th house. How has this changed you? Base your intentions on this new change and transformation. This is going to be our last new moon in Capricorn with Pluto. So this is really significant. Pluto has probably really changed who you are and what you want in relationships, where maybe Pluto entering Capricorn 15 years ago, you were not choosing people that were in alignment with you, or, whatever the case is, or, just completely changing what you want and need with other people. Maybe now you seek relationships that are completely in alignment with who you are and the energy and the frequency you're vibrating at. That's just an example. But we also have Mars in Capricorn in the 7th house. So Mars being in Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars does very well in Capricorn. Mars ruling our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And, Mars also connecting and forming this trine to Jupiter. And then Jupiter, Mars connecting to Saturn here. There's an interesting conversation taking place between, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. This is really beautiful supportive energy for building, for creating something sustainable and long lasting. So I want you to really take advantage of, and this could really, be maybe belief systems around relationships. Having Saturn transit your 9th house, I mean, Saturn could be changing belief systems in a really big way for you. Saturn could be maybe changing religious beliefs because religion is in the 9th house. Saturn could be just changing, maybe focusing more on philosophical beliefs, or maybe the opposite, maybe focusing more on religious beliefs and values and all of that. And so Saturn really is changing this area of life, and maybe even having you become more responsible and dedicated to your beliefs and religion, or whatever the case is. But this is definitely a lot of beautiful supportive energy to build, to create something long lasting and sustainable, especially when it has to do with your one-on-one connections, belief systems, maybe even higher education in some way, or teaching. Teaching is in the ninth house as well. And then the 11th house, so friends and social groups. So you really do have a lot of supportive energy here for, connecting with other people and building something really beautiful with that. Now, where this energy can become a little bit difficult and challenging is that there is a lot of tension here. We have the new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn, so don't pay attention to these degree points, forming an exact T square to the nodes. And you have the North Node transiting your 10th house of career and public reputation, and the South Node transiting your 4th house of home and family, property, real estate. So there's a lot of changes in this area of life this year already. And this new moon can highlight a lot of tension around this change. There may be choices or decisions that need to be made, a path that you need to choose in order to move forward with something. Leo, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. So the new moon is at 20 degrees, so don't pay attention to these degree points. Now, what I want you to do is reflect back the last 15 years. How has Pluto really changed and transformed this area of life for you? Base your intentions and, whatever intentions you're setting with this new moon, base those on the changes and transformation that has taken place. And this could have to do with your health, maybe new nutrition habits, health routines, work routines. Even pets and dogs are in the 6th house as well. But we also have Mars here. Now, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars ruling our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. So Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter here, which is in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And then Jupiter and Mars are forming a sextile to Saturn, which is in Pisces here in your 8th house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing, and transformation. So there's a lot of really big supportive energy here for building and creating something. Like there's a lot of energy here around work, business, career, changing your routines in a really big way around your career and and then, Saturn transiting the 8th house. This could really be forming a lot of, if you do, client work, money coming in from outside resources, there could be a lot more responsibility in this area of life. Maybe you're gaining a lot more clients. There's a lot of supportive energy here to build that, to create that and create something, very long lasting and sustainable for 2024 and beyond around, your business, your career, and clients and money coming in from outside resources. So that's a really beautiful energy. Now, where this energy becomes a little intense is that the new moon sitting at 20 degrees of Capricorn is forming an exact T square to the nodes. And the North Node is in your 9th house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, belief systems. And the South Node is in your 3rd house of communication, from your mind, your mindset, also community and neighbors, neighborhood, vehicles, your day-to-day travel. So there can be, something really highlighted at this time where you're having to make a choice or choose a path around in these areas of life. And it may be something that you're having to release and let go of in order to take advantage of this beautiful opportunity. Because there's a lot of really beautiful energy here, but there definitely is a choice or a decision that needs to be made in a really big way that can be, really highlighted at this time for you. Virgo, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 5th house of children, creativity, passion, pleasure, play, hobbies, interests, romance. This is the house of fun. So this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. But I want you to reflect and think, how has Pluto transformed this area of your life the last 15 years, and base your intentions on that change and transformation. Now I also just want to know, like, the new moon is at 20 degrees, so don't pay attention to this 15 degrees. The new moon is at 20 degrees. Now we also have Mars in Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very well in Capricorn. Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And so there's a lot of focus in this area of life. And Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter. And then Jupiter and Mars are both forming a sextile to Saturn here in Pisces, which is in your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, and one-on-one connections. Jupiter is in your ninth house of belief systems, higher education, higher knowledge, teaching, philosophy. So there definitely is a lot of supportive energy here for building and creating something around client work, around relationships, one-on-one connections, maybe even changing belief systems around relationships and what you want within relationships. Now, where this energy becomes a little intense is that this new moon is forming a T square to the nodes, and you have the North Node in your eighth house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing and transformation, and your second house of money, finances, and material possession. So there may be something really big showing up at this time. This is tension. This can be a decision that needs to be made or a path that you need to choose, maybe even in order to take advantage of this beautiful energy here. So just, yeah, be mindful. There could be a lot around finances, showing up at this time, or even values. Values can be in that second house, and then relationships. Libra, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. Now, this is a good time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. But I want you to think back the last 15 years. How has Pluto transformed this area of life for you? Base your intentions on that change and transformation that has taken place. This is our last new moon in Capricorn with Pluto. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars does very well in Capricorn, and Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And Mars is connecting to Jupiter up here in your eighth house. And then Jupiter and Mars are connecting to Saturn in your sixth house. So there's an interesting conversation taking place here around home, family, property, real estate, and then Jupiter being in your eighth house of other people's money coming in from outside resources, your partner's finances, psychological healing and transformation, death, rebirth, and then Saturn being in your sixth house, which you're really creating new routines, maybe getting more serious around your health, having to focus more on health, having to focus more on your work routine and day-to-day routines. And so there's a lot highlighted here, and there's a lot of beautiful supportive energy to build something sustainable and long lasting, not just for 2024, but that can last, much longer than beyond 2024, especially when it has to do with your home, your family, your sixth house of work, health, and daily routines, and then the eighth house of other people's money, maybe even your partner's finances. So there is a lot of beautiful supportive energy to build, to create something long lasting. Now, where this energy becomes a little bit difficult is that this new moon is forming a T square to the nodes. And you have the south node moving through your first house, and the north node moving through your seventh. So there is a lot of changes taking place this year around you, who you are, what you want, what you need, what you desire, and the path you want to choose this year, and your relationships and one-on-one connections. So there can be something highlighted here. This T square is tension. This is a choice that needs to be made, or a path that needs to be chosen in order to move forward. So pay attention to what is showing up at this time, maybe around what you need, what you want, or even what you're done with, because that south node can indicate, a releasing and letting go of parts of yourself that you're just no longer in alignment with, maybe karmic behaviors and patterns and all of that, because the nodes are very karmic. And that north node in the seventh can be bringing somebody in very fated, very karmic, or even bringing to existing relationships, kind of like a leveling up, where if you've been in a long-term relationship, the north node in the seventh can sometimes bring marriage. And so, but with this T square, there definitely is, a choice that needs to be made here with you, your relationships, and your home, property, maybe even as well. Scorpio, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your third house of communication, your mind, your mindset, community, neighbors, neighborhood, your day-to-day travels, vehicles. Now, this new moon is at 20 degrees of Capricorn right here, so don't pay attention to the 8 degrees. Now, I want you to think back the last 15 years. How has Pluto transformed this area of life for you? Maybe Pluto has completely transformed your mindset, how you communicate, how you think, maybe even how you connect within your community. Base your intentions on that transformation. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars does very well in Capricorn, and Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And Mars is connecting to Jupiter here in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections, business partnerships. And then Jupiter and Mars are both forming a sextile to Saturn, which is here in your fifth house of children and creativity and passion, pleasure, play, hobbies, interests, romance. This is the house of fun. So there's definitely a lot of supportive energy here to build, to create, something even around children, to this is, because of the Saturn energy, this is where you could be creating something or forming a lot of one-on-one connections, maybe within your community that could be very long lasting, because of the Saturn energy. So I really love this energy for forward movement, for building, for creating something sustainable, foundational that can last 2024 and beyond. Now, where this energy becomes a little bit more challenging is that the new moon at 20 degrees is forming a T-square to the nodes. And you have the north node in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine, and the south node in your 12th house of isolation, self-undoing, self-sabotaging, also places and things that are hidden go to the 12th house. And so, the south node moving through your 12th house can really be having you release and let go a lot of karmic energy, a lot of karmic patterns and cycles, and also a lot of self-undoing and self-sabotaging behaviors. The north node in your sixth house could have you be focusing more on your work, health, and daily routine, maybe changing a lot of routines. So there's definitely a lot of changes taking place in this area of life, and it can really be highlighted at the time of this new moon, where maybe this is definitely a choice or a decision that needs to be made. This is tension here. But with all this other beautiful supportive energy, like I really love this. It's just that there may be, a choice that you have to make or a path that you have to choose in order to take advantage of, this beautiful supportive energy around, children, creativity, romance, relationships, and then that third house of maybe community or your mindset or vehicles or communication in some way. Sagittarius, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your second house of money, finances, and material possessions, and also values. Now, this new moon is taking place at 20 degrees, and I want you to think back the last 15 years. Pluto's been transiting Capricorn, your second house, for the last 15 years. How has Pluto transformed this area of life for you? Base your intentions on this amazing change and transformation that has taken place, because this is going to be our last new moon in Capricorn with Pluto. Now we also have Mars in Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very well in Capricorn. Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter, which is here in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. And then Jupiter and Mars are both connecting to forming a sextile to Saturn, which is here in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So I really, really love this for building, for creating something long lasting, something sustainable and foundational that can last, 2024 and beyond. So there is definitely a lot of supportive energy right now that we all want to be taking advantage of with this, conversation between Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, because Saturn is involved. Sextiles bring in opportunities, and Saturn is what makes it very long lasting and sustainable. Now, where this energy becomes a little bit challenging is that this new moon at 20 degrees is forming an exact T-square to the nodes, and you have the north node in your fifth house of children, creativity, passion, romance, hobbies, interests. This is the house of fun. And the south node is in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, networking, also your hopes, your dreams. So there's a lot of changes already taking place this year in these areas of life. And there can be something really highlighted at this time. A T square really indicates tension. So there's a lot of tension, and there's a choice that needs to be made, a decision that needs to be made, possibly in these areas of life in order to take advantage of this energy. So just have that awareness and just, pay attention to what is showing up at this time, especially maybe you're having to release and let go of friendships that are no longer in alignment with you, that maybe are holding you back in some way, or having to release some online connections or, social groups that you're connected to in some way, and maybe go on your own and be more creative, solo or something like that. But there's definitely something being highlighted here and brought to your awareness. And this is a choice. This is a decision that needs to be made for you. Capricorn, you have this new moon in your first house. So this new moon is your new moon at 20 degrees, 44 minutes. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn, but so before I get into that, I just want to know, like, you've had Pluto transiting your first house for 15 years. So how has Pluto transformed you, who you are, what you want? The first house is the house of self, your character, your personality, your physical body, what you feel drawn to, what you're in alignment with, and the path that you want to choose. Even your perception on reality may have completely changed the last 15 years. Now, base your intentions, on that new change and transformation. This is our last new moon with Pluto in Capricorn. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action, and Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter. So this is a lot of motivation, a lot of wanting to take action, a lot of need to take action and move forward with something. And then Jupiter and Mars are forming sextiles to Saturn, which is here in your third house of communication, mindset, also community, neighbors, neighborhood, short travel, like local travel, vehicles. And so I really love this actually for you, for like creating. This could be communicating in some way, building something really sustainable and foundational that can be long lasting. That is really what this energy screams. Now, where this energy can become a little bit challenging is that we have this new moon forming an exact T square to the nodes. And you have the south node in your 10th house of career and public reputation, and the north node in your fourth house of home and family. So these areas of life are already going through a lot of changes this year, but there can be something really highlighted at this time where you're having to choose. There may be a choice here with a career, and with a home, or something with a home dynamic or a family dynamic. That may be too, something that needs to be released and let go of in order to move forward with something. This T square indicates a choice that needs to be made, a decision. And there's a lot of tension around that. And that can be really highlighted with this new moon, but definitely be taking advantage of this, this interesting conversation between Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn, because this is really beautiful energy for building, for creating. And you have Jupiter in your fifth house. I mean, Jupiter in the fifth house can bring children. Jupiter in the fifth house can bring a lot of creative ventures, a lot of romance and pleasure. And then with Saturn, your chart ruler being in your third house of communication, maybe you're creating something that you want to communicate out in the world. And there's a lot of supportive energy for that at this time. Aquarius, you have this new moon in Capricorn taking place in your 12th house of isolation, self-undoing, self-sabotaging, karmic energy, also things and places that are hidden. And so you can set intentions around those themes and topics. But I want you to reflect back the last 15 years. How has Pluto really transformed this area of life? This is going to be our last new moon with Pluto in Capricorn. So you want to be setting your intentions based on that change and transformation that has taken place. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn, which Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning that Mars does very well in Capricorn. And Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter, which is here in your fourth house of home and family. And then Jupiter and Mars are connecting to Saturn, which is here in your second house of money, finances, and material possessions. So this is really beautiful energy for building and creating. I mean, this could have to do with, changes within the home, building something very long lasting and sustainable around money, finances. Saturn being in the second house is already bringing in, changes around your money and finances. So this is a lot of supportive energy to build something very long lasting. Now, where this energy becomes a little challenging is that this new moon in Capricorn is forming a T square to the nodes. And you have your south node in the ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, religion, belief systems, and the north node in your third house of communication, your mindset, local travel, vehicles, community, neighbors, neighborhood. So there's already a lot of changes taking place in this area of life. And this T square indicates a lot of tension and a choice that needs to be made or a decision that you need to make. And so that can really be highlighted at the time of this new moon. Pisces, you have this new moon in Capricorn in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, networking. Now, I want you to think back the last 15 years. How has Pluto transformed this area of life for you? Base your intentions on this new change and transformation. Now, we also have, and this is also a good time to set intentions around, these themes and topics. Now, we also have Mars in Capricorn, which Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And Mars rules our motivation, willpower, drive, how we take action. And Mars is forming a trine to Jupiter. And then Jupiter and Mars are forming sextiles to Saturn, which you have Saturn in your first house. And so this is really beautiful supportive energy to build something very long lasting, sustainable, foundational that can last, 2024 and beyond. Where this energy becomes a little bit challenging is that this new moon is forming a T square to the nodes. So you have the south node in your eighth house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing and transformation, and your second house of your money, your finances, and your material possessions and your values. So there can definitely be something highlighted at the time of this new moon. This is a choice that needs to be made, a decision that you need to make in around these areas of life.